it struck me that if you were an invading force of extraterrestrials, then this would be the time to attack.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you defend your country from an alien invasion?
I don't think it has to be alien. It could be just a bunch of flies, that land in the city and you can't,
But where
do
are these
anything about
flies
it.
coming from?
Where's the aliens coming from?
Smashing Security, Episode 418, Grid Failures, Instagram Scams, and Legal Aid Leaks, with Carole, Theriault and Graham Cluley.
Hello, and welcome to Smashing Security, Episode 418. I'm a teapot, and my name is Graham Cluley.
I'm Carole Theriault and not a teapot.
And we're joined this week by a special guest. Carole, you do know the whole 418 I'm a teapot thing, surely?
No.
Oh, okay. We know 404 is page not found.
Yeah.
Well, 418 is I'm a teapot.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Well, now you know. And that is the voice of our special guest this week, Dinah Davis. Hello, Dinah. Great to have you back on the show.
Hi, how's it going?
Welcome.
Very good.
So first, before we kick off, let's thank this week's wonderful sponsors, Meta Compliance, 1Password, and Vanta. It's their support that help us give you this show for free. Now, coming up on today's show, Graham, what do you got?
I'm going to be asking who turned the lights out.
Okay, what about you, Dinah?
I'm going to talk about how my daughter got her Instagram account hacked.
Ooh, and I'm going to see why UK legal aid needs a big fat Band-Aid. All this and much more coming up on this episode of Smashing Security.
Now, chums, Monday the 28th of April, just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, isn't it? Do you remember what you were doing on that day?
I do.
You do?
I was voting for my new prime minister, and I was canvassing for my local Liberal candidate.
That's right. There you go.
It's a very clear day for me.
Oh, brilliant. Well, if you live in Spain or Portugal, there's a good chance that you do remember what you're doing, because at 12:33 on that day, millions of people were impacted by a sudden power blackout, which made headlines around the world, didn't it? When the Iberian Peninsula, its electricity was, shut down.
Yeah. Just shut into total darkness, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was the middle of the day. I suppose if you were indoor,
That's true.
Yeah, you could have gone outside.
Yeah, okay.
It wasn't instantly dark, but obviously it became darker during the course of the day. But it still caused massive disruption from around about 12 hours. So telecoms were down, your phone may not have been working, transportation.
It got dark.
Yeah, I was in the blackout zone in I think it was 2003
Right.
blackout in North America.
Mm.
And I remember the chaos of that and having only cash, nothing else worked. So
Yeah.
I can definitely empathize. It was very kind of scary and just unsettling.
Because you come to expect all those things to work, don't you? You expect the emergency services to be operating. You expect the metro lines to be working. In Spain and Portugal, they were being evacuated. Air travel was disrupted. Traffic lights were on the blink. There were at least 8 people who died.
Oh, Lordy.
During the power cut. Apparently, it's mainly attributed to sort of fires started by candles or inhaling carbon monoxide from generators. But there were also people who had the power to their mechanical ventilators, which they were relying upon for medical reasons. Those shut down because of the power outage. So it's estimated this blackout cost 1.6 billion euros.
Yeah.
And many businesses, banks, shops, services utterly incapacitated by the lack of power and the lack of connectivity. And as you imagine, in those kind of situations, people are stocking up with essential items. They're grabbing food and water, batteries, torches, flashlights, radios. Also, you don't even have Netflix to rely upon, right? You can't even trust that to be there. So maybe you're out buying jigsaws and books and knitting needles and
With what? No one carries cash.
barter, Carole.
You know what's going to happen? There was a huge baby boom 9 months after the blackout in North America. So just watch. We'll see what happens.
There's nothing else for us to do, darling.
This is what happens.
So obviously, horrendous. Chaos with a capital K. And it struck me that if you were an invading force of extraterrestrials from the planet Altair 4, then this absolutely would be the time to attack. Because everyone's running around like headless chickens.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you defend your country from an alien invasion if your power, if your telecoms were utterly offline?
I don't think it has to be alien. It could be just a bunch of flies, that land in the city and you can't,
But where
do
are
anything
these
about
flies
it.
coming from?
Where's the aliens coming from?
The planet Altair 4. Oh, you're imagining like crickets or
Anything.
plague of locusts, anything.
If you have no power, plague of anything is not fun, especially if you have no power. I'm just arguing that point.
The good news is it got sorted out eventually and people were able to charge their electric fly swatters because by the middle of the night, energy was restored. But we don't know, 3 or even now 4 weeks after it happened, what we don't know is how this all occurred, how the power cut happened. What we do know is that very soon after the power blackout started, several government officials ruled out the possibility of a cyber attack. The Prime Minister of Spain, Pedro Sanchez, as well as Portugal's Prime Minister and the President of the European Council, they all said it's not a cyber attack.
I'd be likely probably to believe that at first instance.
Mm-hmm. It could be something more down to earth, couldn't it? I mean, it could be simply that someone wanted to do a bit of hoovering. They unplugged the electrical grid. Yeah, we've all done it. We've all pulled out the wrong plug from time to time. So that view that it wasn't a cyber attack, that was also backed by the Portuguese Cybersecurity Centre. They said there's no indication the outage was due to a cyber attack. So what might it have been? Well, some people claimed it was all to do with renewable energy. Did you see those headlines?
Mm-mm.
No.
Do you guys not read the newspapers?
As little as possible.
Well,
I was deeply ensconced in Canadian politics at the time.
oh, okay. Fair enough. I understand that. Anyway, some people blamed it on renewable energy. They said it's all green energy's fault. They said over half of Spain's electricity supply does come from solar energy, and then it's followed by wind and nuclear and gas. And renewable energy has become something of a political football in Spain. The Prime Minister there, Pedro Sanchez, he's a big fan of renewable energy, but there are far-right political parties less keen, and they said, well, things would have been much better if we'd been reliant on oil and gas. But in the weeks since the blackout, officials and energy experts, they say it's wrong to point the finger of blame that way. There's nothing unusual about the energy mix. No one turned off the sun.
Right.
It didn't stop being quite so windy. That wasn't to blame, they say. So another theory which was going around, and these theories were being spread on social media and so forth, was the blackout was due to low frequency oscillations.
I just can't believe so many people online got things wrong.
Especially when it's really hard to get on the internet because there's a power cut.
Right.
Well, CNN and Reuters, they reported that the Portuguese Energy Grid Organisation, they said that they had claimed it was because of a rare atmospheric event, which had induced atmospheric vibration, causing synchronization failures between electrical systems. Now, I didn't understand a word of that.
Well,
Okay.
didn't they say, you remember that huge yacht that went under?
Oh, yes. The Bayesian, yes.
They say that was a rare atmospheric event. I think they've just concluded
It
that.
wasn't just that it had an enormously tall sail and was out in a very, very bad weather conditions.
Well, that is an atmospheric, disruption.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
So I was wondering about this low frequency oscillation, the synchronization failures. And I was reading this scientific explanation. I didn't understand a word of it. So I plugged it into an AI and said, could you explain this to me like I'm a presenter of a cybersecurity podcast? And what it did was it explained to me that it was like a giant skipping rope, the European energy grid. It stretches across the entire continent. Every country is holding part of the rope and they all have to swing it together in rhythm. Right? And that apparently...
That's not how a skipping rope works, but okay.
Well, this is what they do. This is how the grid works.
This is what AI's probably not seen much skipping, maybe.
I don't think it's for skipping. It's just, just imagine it's a rope. It's a rope. Everyone's holding a bit of it and you have to swing it together, right? In rhythm. So electricity can flow smoothly. And they claim that Spain and Portugal, which is at the end of the skipping rope of Europe, got out of sync. And that's why things wobbled around too much. And that caused the problem.
But how do they get out of sync? I don't get it.
Yeah. Is your AI hallucinating?
No, there's something to this. It's just like energy got sucked or something.
Look, guys, you go away and you get a European length of skipping rope and start swinging it, and you will soon get out of rhythm, I promise you. So Reuters and CNN, they reported that REN, which is the Portuguese energy grid organisation, they reported that this is what they had blamed the outage on. But REN says, we never said that, and these media reports are complete bunkum. So again, how did the misinformation get out there, which was being spread on social media?
Somebody just made it up.
This whole theory's been debunked. So there've been this whole list of crazy reasons which are being debunked and said, no, that's not possible. That didn't happen, which takes us back, I believe, to a cyber attack. And Spain is now investigating again whether a cyber attack was responsible after all. So having initially debunked that theory, they're now saying maybe it was. And they are demanding that the country's small and medium-sized power facilities, which I'm afraid are typically solar and wind farms, look into whether they are a weak link, and they are barraging those organisations with questions as part of the inquiry. Questions like, is it possible to control the power plant remotely? Were any anomalies detected prior to the incident? Have you installed any recent security patches or updates? I don't know if that's because you should have done or because they might have caused a problem. Hard to say with a security patch or update.
I find it interesting that one or a handful of companies would be responsible for the entire country going under.
Yeah, but the one in 2003 was like one, big breaker that just
went.
Like it went, and then it was a domino effect. And so I think like these things can happen starting from one smaller spot, but it's the domino effect, like that toaster plug-in, where
one goes offline,
where you
it surges
overwhelm the breaker, and then it just keeps going, right? If you don't have the right infrastructure in place.
And you saw that power outage at Heathrow Airport not very long ago, and it was just a tiny little place which had some kind of explosion which happened to it, and it knocked out the entire thing and caused so much disruption.
I mean, the other thing is it's possible it's not a cyber attack, but somebody like just messed up at one of those places, and they're just not coming forward. They don't want to be held responsible.
I know. Isn't it the best way if you screwed up? Cyber attack, I swear to God. Nothing to do with me.
Yeah, that's what it was, because then you can blame it on somebody else.
It's not like I fell asleep and...
instead of you plugging something into the wrong spot.
It was Jerry. Jerry came in that day. He pressed that button.
Yeah.
It's always Jerry. Poor Jerry.
It said don't press, but he just had to do it. He just had an overwhelming urge.
So it may not be a cyber attack that was to blame, but it certainly is the case that cyber attacks have caused serious problems for electricity grids in other countries in the past. In Ukraine, in 2015, in the run-up to Christmas, people were, getting ready for Christmas. Snow was falling, cabbage was being boiled. And somewhere deep in Russia, they decided that was the perfect time to launch some sabotage. Hackers wriggled their way into the IT systems of Ukrainian energy companies, logged into SCADA systems, and they managed to turn the power off. 250,000 Ukrainians suddenly found themselves in the dark.
At the same time, what would be the motivation to do that to Spain and Portugal? Like, we know what Russia's motivation was.
Right.
They just want to mess with Ukraine.
And that was the middle of winter.
Yeah. So it's curious. Even if it was a cyber attack, what was the point? It feels like whoever did this did not actually want the whole grid to go down. Yeah. Is my guess.
Yeah, because then they sent the email and no one got it. Like, geez.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So either some hacker went wrong or it was just Jerry.
Sometimes you think, well, it could be an exploratory attack. Let's see if we can do it, because at some point we may want to do it in the future.
Right?
That's true. That's true.
Geopolitically, things seem to be getting rather hotter between certain parts of the world. Yeah. Again, they may be saying, well, let's just go and see what we can do. As I said, it's happened in Ukraine before. It also happened in India in 2020, in Mumbai, home to Bollywood. 20 million people, most of them practically living on the railways. Everything went dark. Trains grinded to a halt. Hospitals had to use backup generators.
I'm glad the trains grinded to a halt if they're living on the railways.
I'm just thinking of how crowded the trains are. Anyway, that has been blamed on a Chinese state hacking gang called Red Echo, who had been lurking on the power grid for months, dropping malware. So these things do happen. Now, the challenge, whether you be running the electricity grid in Ukraine, India, Spain or Portugal. Challenges are the same. We are taught at cyber school that it's all about CIA, confidentiality, integrity, availability. Top of the pyramid, confidentiality. You've got to keep information secret. Integrity. You've got to maintain the integrity of the data, make sure it's not tampered with, and availability. Yeah, people need to be able to access the data. But when you're dealing with critical infrastructure like the energy grid, that pyramid turns upside down. Suddenly, availability is the most important thing. That's what they need. They need to be able to supply electricity. That matters more than confidentiality or integrity. And I think the challenge for the energy sector is there's very much an attitude of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. When they say things like, have you applied any security patches lately? Chances are, on many of these industrial machinery and SCADA systems, they won't have done because they can't afford to break the power supply. It's got to be keeping up. So you have a lot of old systems sometimes running, which aren't properly patched and aren't properly defended and maybe aren't properly understood exactly how they work because the person who put them in place...
It's like, don't touch the black box, whatever you do.
Yeah.
It was set up by someone 25 years ago. So that's a real challenge. So I'm interested to see what Spain and Portugal come up with in terms of their investigation. It may not be a cyber attack, but certainly there are huge challenges for that sector. Dinah, what have you got for us this week?
Okay, so the unimaginable happened to my poor 16-year-old daughter. She had her Instagram account hacked and taken away. I came home to the house at about 4:00 and my husband looked a little bit frazzled and said to me, her account's been hacked. We're trying to get it back. I have to go back to work. Can you please help her? And I was like, oh, okay, let's take a look at this.
Right.
And it turned out, we tried to get her account back using the, my account's been hacked. But to do that, you need to have access to the phone number or the email address associated with the account. And it turns out the hacker changed that immediately. So we weren't able to get in.
Okay, so if you've got an Instagram account and it is stolen by somebody else, the way to retrieve it is to go to Instagram and say, look, here's my email address, here's my phone number, therefore I own the account. But if someone has changed it,
correct.
Is your daughter's Instagram account, I mean, does she have hundreds of thousands of followers?
No. And in fact, she'd only posted one story ever, and it was the day before, ironically. And it was because she did the ice bucket challenge with her friend, because that has come back to life.
Right.
So no, it's a very private account. I don't think it was about that. I think it was a stepping stone to get more accounts. So the hack timeline is, she gets home from school at like 3:00 and she was sitting down. She had a lot of homework to do. So she was, getting started right away. And she got a message on Instagram from a very close friend of hers.
Okay.
Somebody she's known since kindergarten.
Right.
And the message said, hey, can you do me a favor, please?
Yeah.
And she responds with, sure, what do you need? And then the hacker send a screenshot of purportedly their Instagram account. And it says, request help from friends. Send a request to your friends to help you get back into your account. How this works. Choose 2 friends on your Instagram who can confirm your identity. We recommend you call or text them so they'll know who sent the request. And this is actually an old feature. I don't think it's a feature on Instagram anymore. I couldn't find it anymore. But I did find references to it from about a few years ago. And it was a way to help recover your account or prove your identity. And you could request help from friends.
Basically, it was a way for Instagram to stop people contacting them.
Right.
Their support desks don't want lots and lots of their users contacting them. It's like, let's farm this out to people's friends to confirm their identity, and that way they can get their accounts back.
Right. And so the hackers are actually using this, right? And then underneath the screenshot of this, it says, can you please? And then my daughter's like, well, of course. So yeah. And then again, they heart the message, making her feel more warm and fuzzies. Then they say, thanks. What's your number? And this is when my daughter sends her phone number. Again, she thinks she's talking to her best friend. This is a very hard situation, right? And then it says, check your phone messages. Send me the code, please.
Oh.
Which my daughter did. And she said to me after, she said, Mom, after I sent the code, I had this deep sinking feeling that I'd done something wrong. We never got mad at her about this. Like, this could happen to us. She was doing her homework and all of this happened.
Should we just explain to listeners what has just happened and why that was wrong.
Oh, yes. So immediately her account was gone.
Yeah.
So basically what happened is they used the my account was hacked feature by Instagram to hack her account. They said my account's been hacked. They put her username in.
Yeah.
They put her phone number in, and then it requests a code. And there you go. Bob's your uncle.
Which got sent to your daughter. Your daughter then told the hacker, who was able to enter it pretending to be your daughter. And the hacker gained access to your daughter's account through that mechanism.
Correct. And she was immediately locked out.
Yeah.
And, that's when she came running upstairs to her dad, and they tried to access it, but obviously, they changed her phone number immediately, so we couldn't get any access to it. It's only after, because I was able to look at all the messages that were sent once we got it back, that I could see what else happened. So at 3:02, they sent the first message, and at 3:05, her account was gone.
Wow.
So that's how fast it happened. By 3:14, they started sending messages, from what I could tell, to at least 29 of her top contacts. So they went into her messaging app. They just went through the top people that they recently messaged. So now these are all her good friends, right?
Yeah.
And the cycle starts again. Hey, can you do me a favor?
Right.
And between 3:14 and 3:29 p.m., 10 teens replied and agreed to help.
Yeah.
And they sent the next message, with the image again, and then can you please help? And at this point, 2 teens ghost the hacker. So good for them. They figure out something's not right.
Uh-huh.
And the other 8 say, okay, yeah, how can I help? And the attacker sends the, what's your phone number?
Mm-hmm.
So of the 8 who stayed engaged, 5 figured out something was off. And they never ended up sending their phone numbers or their authentication codes to the hacker. So, all right, that was good. And 3 responded with their phone numbers. So 2 teens do send real authentication codes to the hacker. Only one of those teens lost their account. I was like, that's weird. Why did only one lose their account?
Yeah.
Well, at 3:30 p.m., the hacker went silent. No messages ever were sent from my daughter's account again after that initial wave. And it took me a minute, and then I realized what happened. So a few months ago, Instagram created something called Instagram Family Center. And it allowed you to put controls and monitor your child's activity. In talking with my daughter, we agreed that we would set a 1-hour time limit per day to Instagram. And so what happened was she'd been on Instagram earlier that day, and at 3:30 p.m., the hacker got kicked out because of my parental controls.
So you had parental control over a hacker.
I did. Yes, it was delightful. And then after 3:30, another 4 teens sent responses to the hacker, but obviously they didn't have any effect at all. And the hacker figured out that this account was somewhat useless now.
Yes.
So 2 days after, she got a text message from an unknown number. And it said, hey, screenshot her Instagram account, and then the words, you need it back. And so the hackers were texting my daughter to see if she wanted her account back.
Like to buy it.
And that's what I realized. They were trying to ransom her for her account.
That would work on a lot of teenagers too.
Yeah.
And so I told my daughter that's what they were doing. And then she laughed at that and blocked the number.
Cool.
I was like, yes, it's funny to you because you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You didn't send any untoward pictures to any of your friends. You didn't have anything in your account that you could be blackmailed with.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really lucky that that was the case. And this just isn't the case for all teens. And there's been a lot of instances in the news recently of teens committing suicide for fear of explicit pictures they've sent in DMs to become public because of somebody who has taken over their account, probably in a very similar way to this. So this part is my PSA.
Yeah.
If you have teens, especially if they're on Instagram or if they're on Snapchat or if they're on whatever else, apps that I don't even know about because I'm in my 40s, please tell them that there is no picture worth ending your life about.
Yeah.
It sounds obvious to us as parents, but I don't think it is. It's not to them. If they are so worried that they might have disappointed you or anything, and maybe just having that conversation with them is enough that they'll come to you if it happens, you know?
Or have them listen to this show.
Or have them listen to this show.
Listen to Dinah.
Yeah.
I've got to say, Dinah, well done on your detective skills.
Thanks. It was super fun.
Yeah, I bet.
And for eventually gaining control back over the account. I love the parental control stroke as well. So when you were contacted by this person who worked at Meta via LinkedIn, and you gave them your daughter's number and account.
It took a number of days. Like it took a while for that to come through.
It's a shame, though, that you had to use connections which you already have, knowing someone who worked at the company.
Yeah, I don't think that's cool at all. There's no other way for us to. And then here's the other interesting thing that's been happening. I wrote this article. I posted it on my Substack and on my Medium account and posted it with Code Like a Girl. And I've been getting responses on there saying, oh, I'm this person, I work at Meta and you can pay me $200 to get that account back.
Wow.
I know that Mark Zuckerberg, he's so hard up for money, isn't he?
Yeah, totally.
Carole, what's your topic for us this week?
I am talking about legal aid in the UK because they're in a bit of a pickle. But first, I like to do a little bit of did you know? A little bit about legal aid because obviously it is not something that's been around since the dawn of time. Can you guess when it might have come about in the UK? When would we have introduced legal aid as a service?
1971.
That is a good guess, but it was actually post-war. Okay, it was a post-war social reform, 1949.
Yeah, 1971 was post-war, Carole.
Yes. More closely to the end of the war.
But only 30 years off. Okay.
It was kind of seen as a counterpart to the NHS.
Right.
Justice for all, not just the wealthy.
Okay.
Now, in order to use legal aid in the UK, applicants must prove financial needs. So, even if you qualify, you may have to repay some or all the costs if you win money or property from your case.
Okay. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a way to make sure it's just those that really need it use it. But still, I don't know. It's kind of cool, like how beautiful that there are countries out there that introduce and maintain such a system. Because basically it says you can't get away with something just because the other person is poor. But alas, my friends, as we know, every government-funded rainbow has a shadowy cloud ready to kill the beauty. So this service has not been nearly as readily available since the LAPSO Act, so Legal Aid, Sentencing and Punishment of Offenders Act, was passed in 2012.
Yeah.
So this act, LAPSO, dramatically reduced the scope of legal aid. So many areas like family law, housing, welfare, benefits, immigration cases were cut or severely limited. Like fallen by 80% since 2012 in some areas, with parts of the country being described as legal aid deserts. And this is despite the population increasing by 5 million people in the same time period. So the upshot is we have an overburdened system that is desperately underfunded. And maybe that might help to explain why what has been unfolding in the past few months, but it's only come to light this week. So Monday, this week, we see reports that the legal aid agency's online digital services, which are used by legal aid providers to log their work and get paid by the government, have been taken offline.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a technical fault. The Ministry of Justice confirmed that the agency services were indeed hacked. That happened this week. See, the rainbows are vanishing, being replaced by thundery clouds here. The BBC reports that the Ministry of Justice said the following. This data may have included addresses of applicants, dates of birth, national ID numbers, criminal history, employment, financial data such as debts and payments.
Oh, boy.
Now, if that's not uncomfortable enough, it seems that the initial cyber attack was detected in April this year. And it has since become apparent that the incident was more extensive than originally understood. That is, quote, more extensive than originally understood.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit vague.
Yeah, of course it is.
And that vagueness scares me quite a bit.
Yeah, because we didn't know what was happening in the first place.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you detected something going awry in April, but what? You just thought, it's a blip. Mm-hmm. And don't do your due diligence for whatever reason. What? Maybe because you don't have enough people,
Where you just don't even have the expertise in-house at all.
Right. It's a lack of resource completely. The hackers were able to take data as far back as 2010.
Oh.
So the BBC article says it understood that 2 million pieces of information had been taken. So some of this data would include children who have been mistreated, abandoned, or wronged, people who have been trafficked, sexual and domestic violence victims. These are vulnerable people who definitely do not want to be found by the wrong people.
And this data is now in the hands of cyber criminals.
Right. And it goes back, 15 years?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
That must be so scary for the people that had it taken. Like, so scary and so disappointing that the government didn't keep it safe.
Yeah, it's unclear whether affected individuals have even been contacted yet. So this is as of yesterday. The Law Society, which represents the legal profession in the UK, said the Ministry of Justice needs to get a grip on the situation immediately and notify all those affected individually. And now that the fiasco has come out into the open, there are, of course, fears of scammers jumping in on the confusion to target those whose data,
of course,
was in the legal aid system. And this is not even people who received legal aid, but anyone who's applied for legal aid may be impacted, right?
Oh, right. Yep.
So, we're warning people to be on alert of any suspicious activity, including unknown messages or phone calls, and to update any potential exposed passwords. Okay, so how is the MOJ going to communicate with the people that have been affected if everyone is looking out for unknown, unexpected messages? But they're expecting a message, but they shouldn't expect it from the scammer, just from the MOJ. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's like similar to the grocery store hacks we've been seeing in the UK over the last month or so, where, they're just taken offline. But in this case, the vast majority of the people are people in need who have already, many of them, been victimized and traumatized and maybe just need a break.
Yeah. Unclear what the hackers want to do with this. Like, are they ransoming this group or is it just for identity theft?
That's going to be the fear, isn't it? It could be used for extortion, couldn't it? Against the individuals, not just the organization.
Yes, exactly.
But the actual vulnerable people.
Right? Like, maybe some of these cases were sealed. Mm-hmm. You don't even know, right? If they have children in them or minors, they might have been sealed to the media.
Yeah, and we don't know how much information, the article focused on kind of identifiable information, but who knows about the information about their, particular case and how much of that has been shared. So it's a bit of a nightmare. It's still unfolding, so we will watch this space. There's lots of links in the show notes for you if you want to nose in a bit deeper. But shame and tisk. This is really bad.
Yeah, not cool.
Not cool.
Now, the folks at Meta Compliance know that real cybersecurity starts with your people. That's why their approach is different. They don't just deliver generic cybersecurity training, they personalize it.
That's right. Every employee gets content tailored to their role, location, and level of risk. It's engaging, it's relevant, and most importantly, it drives real behavior change. Meta Compliance has created a free security awareness planner, your 12-month roadmap to building a culture of cyber awareness. It's designed to save you time, increase staff engagement, and make it easy to plan meaningful campaigns that reduce risk.
Whether you're just starting out or looking to improve your current program, this planner gives you a clear, structured path to follow, and it's completely free. Download it today and take the first step towards smarter, more effective cyber awareness. Just visit metacompliance.com/planner. That's metacompliance.com/planner.
And thanks to Meta Compliance for sponsoring the show.
Now, Carole, according to Vanta's latest State of Trust report, cybersecurity is the number one concern for UK businesses. And of course, Vanta can help you with that.
Whether you're a startup, growing fast, or already established, Vanta can help you get ISO 27001 certified and more without any of the headaches.
You see, Vanta allows your company to centralize security workflows, complete questionnaires up to 5 times faster, and proactively manage vendor risk to help your team not only get compliant, but stay compliant.
So stop stressing over cybersecurity and start focusing on growing your business in 2025. Check out Vanta and let them handle the tough stuff. Head to vanta.com/smashing to learn more. That's Vanta, VANTA.com/smashing. And thanks to Vanta for sponsoring Smashing Security. Do your end users always, and I mean always without exception, work on company-owned devices and IT-approved apps? I didn't think so. So my next question is, how do you keep your company's data safe when it's sitting on all those unmanaged apps and devices?
Well, 1Password Extended Access Management helps you secure every sign-in for every app on every device because it solves the problems traditional IAM and MDM can't touch.
1Password Extended Access Management is the first security solution that brings all these unmanaged devices, apps, and identities under your control. It ensures that every user credential is strong and protected, every device is known and healthy, and every app is visible.
So secure every app, device, and identity, even the unmanaged ones. Go to onepassword.com/smashing. That is onepassword.com/smashing. And welcome back. Can you join us at our favourite part of the show, the part of the show that we like to call Pick of the Week.
Pick of the week.
Pick of the week.
Pick of the Week is the part of the show where everyone chooses something they like. Could be a funny story, a book that they've read, a TV show, a movie, a record, a podcast, a website, or an app. Whatever they wish. It doesn't have to be security related necessarily.
Better not be.
Well, my pick of the week this week is not security related. My pick of the week this week is a TV show which I have been watching. Mm-hmm. Not a drama, not a documentary, nothing like that.
Ooh, a comedy?
Not a comedy, not related to chess, none of the usual things which are up my alley. No, this is a program called The Assembly. Have you seen The Assembly, Carole?
Nope.
No, I haven't heard of it.
Right. Well, The Assembly is something. It has happened in other countries as well. I believe they've done it in some European countries.
Is this reality TV?
Well, it's not. Let me explain what it is. The Assembly takes a group of autistic, neurodivergent people with learning disabilities and gets them to interview celebrities.
Oh, I'm gonna love this. I'm gonna just love this. I love on the spectrum, so I feel like I'm going to love this.
They ask questions. Nothing is off limits.
It's amazing.
It is absolutely heartwarming and beautiful.
What program is this on? Which streaming service?
So initially, I saw it on the BBC, on BBC iPlayer. But the series then switched over. That was an episode with Michael Sheen, the Welsh actor, who was asked about Dylan Thomas and things like that. And then it went to ITV, where we've had David Tennant, the former Doctor Who, one of the girls from Little Mix, Gary Lineker, Danny Dyer. He's like that geezer. It is lovely. The first one I saw was the one with David Tennant, where he's asked some difficult questions, refreshingly honest. But to be honest, this old softie got a bit of a tear in his eye during most of these episodes because it is really, really touching and refreshing.
What's touching, though?
What is touching is the honesty of the situation, the questions people are being asked, the human connection between these people.
Oh, like all the fake glossy gloss that most interview shows put on is gone.
Exactly. And it's not the normal questions which you would ask celebrities. And sometimes they play a little song at the end where the interviewers, some of them will get together and play some music for the celebrity, sort of thank them for coming along. And I have to say, the performance they did of Sunshine on Leith for David Tennant, which is one of those songs, it is such a beautiful song anyway. It's absolutely heart-wrenching. It was wonderful.
Aww.
I got to figure out how to watch this in Canada.
We'll be in touch. We'll work out a way of getting you access. There are clips on YouTube if you want to enjoy it up there as well. And as I said, there are versions of this program in other countries around the world. But my pick of the week, absolutely, I'd strongly recommend The Assembly.
Cool.
Very cool.
Good.
Dinah, what's your pick of the week?
Have you guys all heard of Iron Man, right? Like the Iron Man competitions?
Heard Iron Man. I practically am Iron Man. I'm getting up at 3:00 every morning.
Is it like 8 different or 10 different sports you have to do?
No.
Yes, that's what I did.
The Iron Man it's a triathlon.
Well, yeah, I did like Iron Man Plus. I did something a bit stronger than that, yeah.
So here's the thing though. When you're a swimmer, any of these triathlons, I always feel like when your main sport was a swimmer, you feel really jacked. For a swimmer, Olympic distance, like 1.5 kilometers, it's not that far. It's fine. But then like the bike and the run, they're crazy. They're super far, especially like in an Ironman, right? So an Ironman swims like 4 kilometers. That's far, but it's not crazy for a swimmer. But like the bike's 160 kilometers. And then the run is like 42 kilometers, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't compare.
And so like many years ago, I quit running anyway, but I did like to try and do triathlons. But both my daughter and I are swimmers. And I got back into swimming a couple of years ago. And I discovered this amazing organization called Ocean Man.
Oh.
So it's like an Ironman, but it's only swimming. And so an actual Ocean Man swim length is a 10-kilometer swim.
Oh, wow.
And I even think that's a little bit insane. I personally like to stick to what they call the sprint distance, which is 2 kilometers. That's just far enough for me. But my daughter loves distance swimming, and she recently did her very first 5K.
Congratulations.
In Spain.
Wow.
Yeah. And so what's really cool about Ocean Man is they host races all over the world. So basically, you can, like, one, do an awesome event, challenge yourself, and find other people who actually like swimming and not the running and the biking part, and we just want to do the open water swim. But 2, it's like a great excuse to go on a vacation someplace else. So I was also supposed to do the race in Spain, which unfortunately I've injured my shoulder. I couldn't do it, but oh well, had to go to Spain anyway for my daughter. That was such a hardship.
Yeah, me too. I was hoping to swim there too, but yeah, I got an injury. Yeah, couldn't make it.
I did do one in Curacao in October. And so they really are like all over the world. So if you like swimming and you want, a challenge, you're like, you want to be cool to like the Ironman people, but you don't actually want to bike or run, you can do Ocean Man instead. And you can go all over the world. So like I'm currently looking at their map for this year, and you can do swims in Nicaragua, Ecuador, Argentina, Egypt, Greece, Italy. You can even do one in Kyiv, Ukraine. I feel that's very bold right now. I'm not sure I'm up for that, but and they did 3 in Spain this year. So I think it looks like there's like about 25 different races you can do all over the world.
Right.
So it's kind of a cool thing to do. It's like travel racing. Go see a cool place, do a race. It's something I like having a goal to train for. Yeah.
Come home and feel pretty smug.
Yeah, right. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And like my daughter comes out and she's dying because it was actually like really wavy, so it took her a lot longer than
I bet she was exhausted.
we expected. And then we're like, "Are you going to do it again?" She's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "And one day I'm going to do a 10K." I'm like, "Okay, you are crazy, but I love you."
I was a swimmer, and open water swimming compared to pool swimming is very different.
Right.
Yeah.
But like we also did a different race in Barbados, and I saw like 19 turtles while I did the race.
Wow.
It was great. Like it's really it's a fun way to I don't know, it's a different way to explore the world and challenge yourself.
I think it's a great pick of the week, Dinah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Carole, what's your pick of the week?
Well, I am very glad Dinah's here because I have a book, and a fiction book, and Graham is not typically that keen on fiction.
Okay, well, try me.
So I finished it just 2 hours ago, and it's a beautiful beast called All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker.
Oh.
I don't think you've read it because you would go, oh my God, I love it.
I haven't, but I'm looking it up.
So it came out last year. You know when you finish a book and you are just better armed for life because of it?
Mm-hmm.
This book is one of those books. So the gist is this. You're late one summer. This little town called Montclair is shattered by the abduction of a teenage boy nicknamed Patch.
Right.
And nobody more so than St. Brown, best friend, who will risk everything to find him. And when she does, it breaks her heart. It's difficult to describe the book's genre, but you have a really fast-paced cat and mouse thriller, a police procedural, a murder mystery, a small-town domestic drama, and a multi-layered, decades-long love story.
Oh, this sounds great. This is going on my list for sure.
Yeah, and it had me laughing out loud.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, there are characters in it that are just hysterical. And I don't laugh out loud very often in books, but I really did. And I also teared up. So that's rare. It's rare for me. I read a ton, and I promise, very, very rare.
So did you read it or audiobook? I do both. So.
I audiobook.
Okay.
But I'm going to buy the book because it's so beautifully written that I want to see the sentences.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so tight. I don't know. It just blew my mind.
I'm reading. It's the #1 best-selling book in the UK at the moment.
Well, hey, there you go. Very topical. Graham, you should try it, or at least get the book in the house.
Or try the audiobook. I love listening to audiobooks.
Me too.
Like audiobooks and podcasts. I listen to them all the time, doing all the things I'm doing.
I always feel a bit wanky not saying it's an audiobook, but then what do you say? Like, have you read or listened to? I don't know, maybe I should.
Experienced.
Experienced. That's what my brother and I say.
My favorite thing to do is listen to audiobooks like of biographies and read by the author.
Yes.
So good.
Yes.
It's way better than reading the book. Like just hearing it in their voice is so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, Demi Moore's one is pretty awesome. I think that was a pick of the week in the past, but that's definitely worth.
Yeah, I think my favorite memoir was, he used to run The Daily Show.
Jon Stewart?
No.
Trevor Noah.
Yes, Trevor Noah, thank you. His book about his childhood is unbelievable. And read by him because he does all the like accents and stuff as well.
Yes.
It's really good. I highly recommend it.
Well, the novel is All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker is my very highly recommended pick of the week.
Terrific stuff. And that just about wraps up the show for this week. Dinah, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure lots of our listeners would love to find out what you're up to and follow you online. What's the best way for them to do that?
I've got a new Substack called Dinah Being Me. You can always also find us at codelikeagirl.io, which is all the tech articles written by women.
Cool.
And on LinkedIn is Dinah Davis.
Marvellous. And you can find Smashing Security on Blue Sky, unlike Twitter, which wouldn't let us have a G. And don't forget, to ensure you never miss another episode, follow Smashing Security in your favourite podcast apps, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Pocket Casts.
And huge thank you to our episode sponsors, Meta Compliance, 1Password, and Vanta. And of course, to our wonderful Patreon community. It's their support that helps us give you this show for free. For episode show notes, sponsorship info, guest lists, and the entire back catalogue of more than 417 episodes, check out smashingsecurity.com.
Until next time, cheerio, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Woof! Beast of a show there. Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Let's go. It's fun, though. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much,
No
Dinah.
worries.
I really appreciate you coming on, sharing that with us.